A moment that changed everything. The raw, unforgettable confession of Jung Hae In to Jung So Min. In the fast-paced, image-obsessed world of Korean entertainment, where every gesture is calculated and every word is measured, something extraordinary happened. So unexpected, so emotionally raw, that it sent shockwaves through the industry. It was a moment that transcended performance, shattered facades, and laid bare the truth of two hearts that had long suffered in silence. At the center of it all were two of Korea's most beloved stars, the composed, gentlemanly Jung Hae In and the ever-elegant, radiant Jung So Min. The calm before the storm. What was supposed to be an ordinary public appearance quickly spiraled into a once-in-a-generation moment. Fans had gathered in large numbers. Cameras were rolling. Social media accounts were buzzing with anticipation. The atmosphere was charged with the usual excitement that surrounds major celebrity events. But beneath the glitz, something was brewing, something deeply personal and emotionally explosive. Jung So Min arrived first, graceful as ever. She smiled, waved, and posed for the cameras with her signature poise. Yet, those who looked closely noticed a subtle shift in her demeanor. Her eyes, normally bright and confident, seemed clouded with emotion. Her smile, still beautiful, felt a little too forced. Whispers started to circulate among insiders. Was she okay? Was something bothering her? Jung Hae In, the man behind the mask. Jung Hae In had always been the image of control, an actor known for his soft-spoken charm, elegant manners, and almost stoic privacy. He was never one for grand gestures or public displays of emotion. But that day, all of that changed. Just moments before stepping onto the stage, he was seen pacing nervously behind the scenes. Some speculated he was preparing for a surprise announcement, a new drama, a charity initiative, perhaps a film festival award. But no one could have predicted what he was truly preparing for. As the lights dimmed and the spotlight found him standing beside Jung So Min, the world collectively held its breath. The gesture that stunned a nation. Then it happened. Jung Hae In reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and glittering. The crowd immediately assumed it was a proposal. Phones flew into the air, live streams exploded, and fans leaned forward in anticipation. But it wasn't a ring. Instead, what followed was a confession, not just of love, but of vulnerability, longing, and years of emotional repression. His voice trembled slightly, but there was steel in his gaze. "I can't live another day pretending I don't feel what I feel," he said. It wasn't just a statement. It was a release, of pain, of regret, of all the moments he had swallowed his truth to maintain the polished image the industry demanded. He spoke of shared memories, of missed opportunities, of silent battles he had fought alone. And he spoke of her, how she had haunted his thoughts in quiet moments, how every smile she gave him had broken something inside him. The audience was paralyzed. Reporters froze, their pens hovering mid-air. Even seasoned photographers hesitated to click, afraid of intruding on something so intimate, so human. Jung So Min, the silent storm. For a moment, Jung So Min said nothing. Her eyes were wide, searching his face for the truth, perhaps the same truth she had suspected, hoped for, or feared. The flood of emotions that crossed her face in that instant told a story deeper than words ever could: confusion, disbelief, heartbreak, and finally, something softer. Something that looked a lot like love. Her hand, trembling, reached out and rested on his arm, an almost involuntary motion, like her soul had decided before her mind could catch up. And then she wept, not delicate, camera-ready tears, but the kind that come from deep within, raw and uncontrollable. The cameras caught every second, her body shaking as she cried, his arms reaching to hold her steady, protectively, like he had been waiting years for this very moment. The history behind the headlines. To those unfamiliar with their story, the scene may have seemed out of nowhere, a dramatic twist worthy of a K-drama script. But for those who had followed their careers, it was the culmination of years of quiet speculation and unresolved tension. Jung Hae In and Jung So Min had met on the set of a popular drama years ago. From the very beginning, there had been a spark, undeniable, electric. Even the producers remarked on their chemistry. Yet, nothing ever came of it. Timing was wrong. Contracts were restrictive. Agencies intervened, afraid of scandals, of rumors affecting brand deals and career trajectories. They remained friends. Occasionally co-stars. Occasionally photographed in the same place at the same time. But nothing more, at least, nothing public. Over the years, fans noticed the subtle signs. The cryptic Instagram captions. The way they looked at each other during award shows. The coincidental vacations in the same location. But without confirmation, all it ever amounted to was speculation. Until now. A heart on the line. What made Jung Hae In's confession even more powerful was the risk it carried. In an industry built on image and reputation, where one wrong move can destroy a career, he had laid everything on the line. There was no PR team managing the narrative. No manager-approved script. Just a man bearing his heart in front of millions. He wasn't acting. He wasn't promoting. He was pleading for a chance, for redemption, for love. "You once asked me what I was afraid of," he whispered. "I was afraid of this. Of being too late. Of never telling you. Of losing you before I even had the courage to say it." And then, the words that no one was prepared to hear. "I love you. I always have, even when I shouldn't have." The silence that followed was almost deafening, then gasps, then sobs, then cheers. Social media erupted instantly. Hashtags trended worldwide. Fan art flooded timelines. But through all the noise, the only thing that mattered was her response. The collapse and the embrace. She didn't answer with words. She stepped forward, placed her head on his chest, and collapsed into his arms. It was a surrender, not of weakness, but of truth. A surrender to love that had waited too long. Her whole body folded into his, as if she was finally letting go of the burden she had carried. And he held her like he had been waiting to do so for years. No one moved. The stage lights flickered. The cameras kept rolling. But it felt like time had stopped. There was no need for more words. The world had just witnessed something rare, a moment of pure human vulnerability in an industry that thrives on perfection. What the world didn't know. Later, sources close to the two stars revealed a final piece of the puzzle, one that made the timing of the confession even more poignant. Jung So Min had been preparing to leave the industry. Quietly. Without fanfare. Burned out by the relentless pressure, the spotlight, the emotional toll. She had given her all for over a decade, and she was tired. Tired of smiling through pain. Tired of being strong. Tired of being alone. And Jung Hae In knew. Whether she told him directly, or whether he simply felt it in her silence, we may never know. But he knew. And perhaps, after all those years of holding back, of sacrificing what he felt for the sake of image and duty, he realized he couldn't let her walk away, not without finally speaking the truth. The aftermath. A new kind of fame. What followed was unprecedented. Endorsements were put on hold. Interviews were cancelled. But public support was overwhelming. Fans, celebrities, even journalists praised the bravery, the honesty, the raw emotional truth of that moment. It wasn't a scandal, it was a reckoning. A reminder that behind every idol, every polished persona, is a real person with a real heart. Jung Hae In's risk, once considered career suicide, became a symbol of authenticity. And Jung So Min, once thought to be leaving everything behind, found herself more loved than ever before, not for her roles, but for her reality. The legacy of a moment. Years from now, people will still talk about it. Not just as a viral moment or a trending hashtag, but as a turning point. The day a man said enough to silence. The day love won over fear. The day two stars stopped acting and started living. What Jung Hae In and Jung So Min gave the world that day was not just entertainment. It was permission to feel, to speak, to be vulnerable. To admit that behind every smile might lie a storm. And that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Because in the end, love, real love, is worth everything. Even your career. Even your pride. Even your carefully built walls.